Talking about anime on this channel is sometimes a bit of a challenging subject for me, mostly because when I do a subject for fascinating fiction, I'm wanting to talk about the interesting little bits of trivia I've collected over the years, or share interesting and engaging elements of the show in question, or just highlight something that I don't feel was able to really get shown off like it should have. And considering I've only recently gotten back into watching a lot of anime thanks in part to this show, that's a lot harder to do since a lot of the stuff I'm wanting to talk about is relying on memories that's from several years ago. So because of this, today's subject might seem like a weird choice, but it boils down to me wanting to highlight an anime that I've rewatched recently, and I don't think gets enough attention for just how fun it is. So strap in, folks, as we delve into Wallflower and find out what exactly is
The Road to Womanhood!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I am your ever-friendly Pokeprof, and welcome back to Fascinating Fiction. So, before anything else, let's get one thing out of the way for this weird hilariousness that is this anime, and surprisingly enough, that's its name. I call it the Wallflower as that's what the anime was actually named here in the States, but as far as I can understand it, it goes under several different names depending on where you are in the world. Its original title is, and excuse me here because it's entirely in Japanese, Yamato Nadeshiko Shichi Henge, which roughly translates over into Perfect Girl Evolution. There are other names that are used in different regions, including My Fair Lady, Tsunako of Many Forms, and a shrunken version of its Japanese title in Yamanade. I find it kind of fitting that it has so many titles that it goes by considering the themes of the anime itself. What are those themes? The importance of, or perhaps lack thereof, proper appearance. Let's dive into the anime to find out why. Well, I say dive in, but it's more like this anime ties a rock around our neck and throws us right into the deep end, as it doesn't waste any time in telling us the basic premise of this plot. Not even 3 minutes into the first episode do we get a quick glance of the main male protagonists, 4 beautiful boys named Kohei, Taganaga, Yuki, and Ranmaru, basically being offered a deal by their rich landlady. If they're able to help the landlady's niece Tsunako become a perfect lady, then they'll have their every living expense of the giant mansion they live in for free.
Free? For real?
Please say you're not yanking our...
Hold that thought.
If they fail, however, the rent will triple. Being both high schoolers and a bit lazy in some respects, the 4 quickly agree, only to meet Tsunako and... So yeah, Sanako's not very ladylike, though she has a reason for it. And if I'm entirely honest, it's one that I can kinda relate to. You see, Sanako's always kinda been an odd girl, having a love of the dark and a fascination for things that are scary, horror-filled, and otherwise very macabre. But she had tried, like every other girl, to at least be presentable to the world. That was until she confessed her feelings for the first guy she ever loved, and the result was this.
Listen, kid. I hate ugly girls.
Ever since that moment, Tsunako's not cared at all for her appearance and has embraced her love of the darkness completely, to the point where she actually has trouble being around what she deems beautiful creatures, which of course the male members of the cast are exactly that. And she reacts with a variety of screaming, running, and nosebleeds in reaction to them and their feeble attempts to turn her into a lady. Because despite its premise of being a series that looks like it could delve into the relationships, bonding, and physical appearance through a story like some other franchises have done, Hello or in High School, the Wallflower here is all about making you laugh. In many ways, I call this anime the Looney Tunes of its kind, with constant gags that are an ongoing theme in this show, such as
The Road to
Yes, that. But there's also things like the nosebleeds from earlier being a constant joke, the boys being afraid to go into Sanako's room, and other things like characters breaking the fourth wall at the start of the episodes, and, well, the Goth Lily sisters. That doesn't mean there isn't some kind of story going on here, though, and I think that's one of the reasons why I've actually enjoyed this little show, because there is a bit of heart to it. You get to see a little bit of how these characters tick, from Kohei's troubles in life for being so pretty that he can't even hold a job without his bosses trying to seduce him, to things like the relationship between minor character Noi and the fact that she actually has a romance with Takanaka, something that none of the other characters really have throughout most of the show. This is also while the anime goes to some pretty modest lengths to show that while it's important to take care of yourself, and you can be a lady if you truly wish so, there's nothing wrong with being yourself or enjoying something that others might find odd. Sunako's love of the macabre, of blood and gross things, doesn't stop the fact that she's a kind character who's willing to be there for those she cares about. Well, at least until the people she cares about upset her or try and force her into a dress she doesn't want to wear, in which case there's a lot of screaming, fighting, and overall chaos. And if nothing else, while the male characters in this series have very well-established voice actors, with Kohei being played by someone I never expected,
Revelry in the dark.
but if there's one person I hope gets more work in the future, it would actually be Sunako's VA, Hana Alcorn. She's got a pretty distinct voice that she gives to our main character here, and damn can she scream. I will say that the anime probably isn't for everyone. It's a bit of a product of its time, and you notice a lot of things about it, like these weird instances of characters being just blank little dolls for certain scenes. I'm not sure if this is an aspect of the animation that they just chose to go with in order to save on the budget, or more of a reflection of how the original manga was portrayed, but for someone who isn't used to this kind of thing, the sudden change can be very distracting. There's also parts where there's just a lot of these odd choices that I feel like they kind of threw in to just add comedy to the story, but there's so much of it so fast sometimes that I know it can be just overwhelming to any audience. Overall, though, I feel like the Wallflower is a nice little anime that if you're wanting to have a laugh, with a bit of feels tossed in for a good measure, that you should check it out. It's an enjoyable little thing to binge, and you might get a good chuckle out of it or two. I know it's something that I'll be revisiting again in the future.